Years ago, while traveling in Naples, Italy, I was told the people of Pompeii were being punished by the gods. I was told that because of their lifestyle of fornication and gluttony, Mount Vesuvius began to bubble, steam, and ultimately lead to their demise. Cosmic karma, a fate impossible to avoid because it was created by your own hand. During my recent fight with cancer, this idea haunted me. It brought me back to a time during a period in my 20s when everything was perfect. I was an ocean lifeguard and I was in the best shape of my life. My body was toned and muscular and tan, excuse me, tanned, a deep brown from the endless hours and days in the sun. My hair was shoulder length and streaked with sun-bleached highlights. To me, every day was Saturday, every day was a summer vacation, every day was spring break. On this particular day, I found myself on a rooftop of a Marriott hotel. I was with my best friend, who was also a lifeguard. It was midsummer and hot, as it always was in Tampa. My friend was a swimmer at the University of Tampa, and he had an impressive female following. They flocked to him, and since I was similar in body and physicality, they flocked to me as well. We met with 2 girls from the university. It was your typical poolside experience. Suntan lotion was all that you could smell. The whiteness of the sun reflecting off the pool deck forced polarized lenses to be donned. Conversations about the night filled the gaps between dips in and out of the water. It was a typical summer day. After an hour or two, the alcohol started to be consumed and things gradually escalated. Dos Equis and Patron were promoting that day. And there were extremely sexy women walking around and pouring free shots of tequila and giving away free beer. We all took part in the promotional invitations, and before I knew what had happened, we were all on the verge of blackout drunk. Even the promo waitresses were wasted. Everyone was. Every single person on this rooftop was obliterated. 20 plus people at least, all with perfect tan bodies, all with perfect faces, tan lines, perfect everything. It didn't take long before everyone was fiendishly intoxicated. And I'm not just talking about being intoxicated by alcohol. No, we all became sexually intoxicated as well. We were eyeing everyone like rabid dogs. Everyone was half naked and beautiful, and once the alcohol suppressed all inhibitions, we began to act on our animal urges. We were all in the water when things started to get out of hand. At first, one person would randomly kiss another. Then kisses started to last longer and hands began to get involved. Bodies were drawn closer. Every person was kissing and groping and sucking the bodies of others. It didn't matter who was who because each was just as sexy, just as intoxicated, and just as horny as the next. At one point, hula hoops were thrown in the mix, and we all found ourselves trying to squeeze as many of our hard bodies into one hoop as possible. It started with one guy and girl. In a few short moments, there were suddenly 10 wasted, sex-hungry maniacs, all crammed inside one. I was one of them. I've never been pressed between so many people and been so happy about it. I started to kiss the girl that was next to me, but as the mass of bodies adjusted and squirmed and rotated, I soon found myself with a new girl. And this time I wasn't just kissing her, I was licking and sucking on her breasts. We were like the people of Pompeii, drunk and overindulgent, obsessed and oblivious to that massive active volcano bubbling in the distance. As the sun started to set, the security team of the Marriott had come to kick us all out. It was a crazy scene, and they had zero control over us. They would be yelling at one group of people that were naked in the pool to get out, while the rest of us were half naked trying to get in. Eventually the police were called, and we all began to scatter. Some with clothes in hand, others just left them behind. Once outside the hotel, I got a text from my friend with an address to an apartment, to the apartment across the street. I figured that meant the party was still going to continue on. I found the room and knocked on the door and waited. Inside, I could hear that there was a lot of people. It was loud and it was rowdy. Curious, I pressed my ear to the door, and at that moment, it swung open fast. There in front of me, holding the door wide open, was one of the women we had met at the pool earlier that day. She stood there in front of me completely naked, wearing nothing but my motorcycle helmet. I looked past her into the apartment and saw that everyone from the pool was inside, and each and every one of them was naked too. She grabbed me by the shorts, pulled me inside, and slammed the door shut. Seconds after entering, I was naked. The remainder of the evening was one wild sexual encounter after another. Some multiple partners, some with just one, some where others watched, and others where we watched them. But at one point in the night, toward the end of it all, there was a moment of sobriety, and a moment that still weighs on me. I was standing in the center of the room of this apartment, with naked strangers scattered on couches and recliners all around me, while I was receiving oral sex. While doing so, I looked over and saw a woman at the kitchen island. She was in the kitchen and being bent over and penetrated from behind. Our eyes locked, and I swear at that moment everyone else disappeared. It was almost as if the room went completely dark, and it was just the two of us that remained in silence. It wasn't an erotic connection. It was more like dual disappointment, an acknowledgement that each of us was better than this moment, this day, this life, better than the people of Pompeii that we were mimicking now. I remember her face, and she reminds me every day of how easy I have it, how easy my fight with cancer actually was. You see, years after that day and night, that woman that I shared that haunting moment with was also diagnosed with cancer. Except her cancer came with a force that makes Mount Vesuvius seem like an afterthought. She battled while her cancer destroyed her, and I watched her fight every day. I watched her deteriorate, and finally I watched her die. And all the while I wondered why. Why her? Why me? Why anyone? And I couldn't help but think of our gluttonous day of fornication by the pool, and wonder, was this our karma? If I only knew.